Truth of the matter is, I wasn't even gonna make this video. Then you know, Trump won, and that's all we've been sad about, and excessive sadness is never good for the mind or body. So I thought I'd give y'all something a little different to think about, and how we can all collectively laugh at how this series also fumbled the bag for years on end. So here we are, the end of the Jujutsu Kaisen manga era. Before I continue, I just want to address something. To all y'all accounts that were leaking this manga every week on Twitter, I mean this from the bottom of my soul. Suck my dick on everything I love. See, this goes into some of the reasons as to why I can't stand you new age manga and anime fans jumping the gun, because y'all can't wait a damn day. And if y'all want to read a chapter days before its release, that's on y'all. But I would be strolling on Twitter minding my business, and all of a sudden, without context, I see a scan from the up and coming chapter that just spoils it for me. I saw Yuji's domain expansion days before the chapter dropped. So to all y'all pages, Myth, Mayamura especially, I hope y'all stump y'all toes and never recover, you hoes. Now the tone's been set. Spoilers throughout this entire video. So if you only watch the anime, tough. You've been warned. Now look, I've seen bad endings. I've watched all 9 seasons of Suits and watched its fall from grace from season 5. Wasted time I'll never get back. I've seen bad endings. I watched the entirety of House of Lies, and while it was trash from start to finish, that last episode just had to be a different type of awful. Look, I've seen bad endings. I was lied to watching Blue-Eyed Samurai, feeling very invested in episode 5 or 6, only to watch this Mary Sue tank Takeshi's castle, jump off a building into ice-cold Arctic water whilst carrying an unconscious full-grown man, nearly swim to the surface and still somehow survive. Look, I've seen bad endings. I've seen Miles Teller say that again. Look, I've seen bad endings. I sat through 1.5 hours of No Way Home just to be excited to see 2 other Spider-Men, and then the story ends with Doctor Strange's stupid memory wipe jutsu. I've seen bad endings. I read Fuka to where the romances came out of nowhere, and when Drover Boy hooked up with the Guitar Girl, and Mikasa decided to no longer be gay and got a girlfriend. Look, I've seen bad endings, and Jujutsu Kaisen is one of the worst I've seen. And I was trying to tell y'all. I was trying to tell all y'all this. And all y'all said I was hating. But Jujutsu Kaisen isn't bad because the ending is bad. Jujutsu Kaisen is bad because the writing as a whole is painfully mediocre, and it never got better. If you haven't seen the first video I made about Jujutsu Kaisen, I recommend you watch that first, as I go into detail and already address many of the things wrong with the state of the issue. And I don't feel like repeating myself. So I'm mainly going to be talking about the ending, why it sucks, and how it doesn't better recontextualize the rest of the manga. I do, however, would like to clarify a few things a lot of people either didn't understand or just chose to ignore. The first one is that the retroactive element of storytelling does not work if it's used as a convenient method to contextualize an event that is simultaneously happening when it's relevant to the story, and not used to further establish or strengthen a stronger literary point. What does that mean? You turn them having a plan to take Gojo's body soon after we see Gojo's death. Nuh-uh. That's an amazing plot twist that indicates these guys had a grimy plan just in case all else fails. Alright, I can understand that, but I can also acknowledge that this happened right before Sukuna was about to clep Yuji out of existence, an event that would have amounted to nothing as Yuta was far too inexperienced to handle the weight of Gojo's body and technique, and then when his copy technique ran out, all this happened within 2 chapters. His emergence, and then his failure. And guess how this chapter ends? Another flashback detailing another intricate plan. What is this intricate plan? Jacob's ladder. But what happens when the next chapter starts? Oh great heavens! The plan fucking fails because it does nothing. Then, how does this chapter end? Yuji activating his domain expansion. What does it do? Nothing. It's a domain expansion that doesn't explicitly amplify anything or do any outstanding technique, which is odd because every single domain expansion we have seen had a unique and specific ability which provides a user an advantage. Every single domain expansion expressed is done which portrays the character of the user in some way, shape, or form. Even Sushi Boy. But Yuji exists as an outlier as he's guiding Sukuna through his past and seeks to connect with him on some emotional level. Or, simply put, he tried to Naruto his ass out of this fight. There is no defense for it either because it was thrown to us mere moments before the story ended. So we don't even get some type of acknowledgement to it at all. Now, even with these few examples, we're able to detect a pattern. And within that pattern, do you want to know what the problem is? The problem is that it doesn't strengthen the story or make sense within the narrative because there has been no adequate structure being built to understand the weight and gravity of these decisions. Y'all seem to forget, these are decisions, but these are decisions that we do not follow or grasp until after the fact. Decisions that were made off screen. You know, like how Gojo was killed off screen. These significant moments in the story, when they all go down without observation of the reader, can make any explanation thereafter seem plausible because we have seen the end product and not the manufacturing of it. So it's easier to elaborate how something has happened as opposed to why something could happen. Let's use the character who is a metaphor of the entire manga and the story. You know when Megumi used his domain expansion for the first time? Do you want to know why the flashback in that case worked as opposed to when, let's say, a flashback of Gojo entrusting youth with his body didn't? Megumi's mind and outlook on himself, others, and life was something that was provided with insight and depth at every corner. Even his curse technique is one which relies on the support and cooperation of other entities beyond himself, summonings. He isn't fighting alone. He's quick to call it quits and nuke the situation if it means the battle can be won. If it meant those around him can be saved. Sukuna and Gojo are the ones to remark that he is someone with extraordinary potential, but is seemingly wasting it due to this end-all be-all complex he has, willing to summon Maharanga any chance he gets. But when he's about to meet his end by the finger bearer, he thinks back to Gojo telling him he doesn't know how to bring out his best. He's explicitly saying, in order to reach the ranks you want to reach, you have to learn how to abandon the necessity of support and depend on yourself and give everything to yourself. But even after this flashback, he's still about to summon Maharanga until he gets one more flashback from Sukuna, which prompts him to, for the very first time ever, try. Just to try. Go to the edge and peek to see what's on the other side of power. These flashbacks work poetically because it adds to Megumi's character, and it also adds to the decision he's about to make. A decision he momentarily doubts and then goes, fuck it, ball will bounce. That is why this scene is so beautiful because it's a rising roller coaster before the drop. But in every other scene to flashback post that, the ride drops, then goes back up, then tries to drop again, but the ride stammers and breaks throughout. You didn't even know you were on the ride to begin with. And because you already experienced the rush of simply seeing the event, there is no anticipation and there is no insight into the mind of the agents at play. We're expected to care way before we are given the opportunity to understand. This may come across as me over-explaining, but this is because a lot of y'all still don't grasp how this technique that Gege uses not only does not work, but it is broken. It kind of feels like that non-linear trend that was going on, because red and blue, who you stepping to? Gege presents to us the ending of a skit, man that shit was ass, pussy, and then the body of work. This retroactive storytelling didn't miss a beat and would continuously be used even during the very last chapter when it doesn't even make sense and served as a cheap way to exercise this passing of the torch type of message that didn't even connect. Because in the last chapter, Megumi, Yuji, and... oh man. Megumi, Yuji, and Nobara get a case of some woman claiming her fiance's face looks all weird and bug-like. I'm not going to show the image on screen because I'm going to keep it a buck. The face makes me feel mad uncomfortable. It turns out there's a curse user in the area that's messing with the woman, and the three have to strategize how to find him. After some back and forth, they soon find this guy in a matter of a few pages and apprehend him. The reason why this creep was cursing this woman is because he's a weirdo who bought her a Prada bag and she didn't remember who he was. Hey, look, don't look at me. I don't know what's going on either. Anyway, so in the car, Yuji reassures the guy that he's not really in trouble, and the guy just replies, I'm too old to be acting this way at my big ass age. And then a flashback happens. In this flashback, Yuji is training with Gojo after saying he wanted to try this switch training with him. Gojo then responds by saying, haven't we had enough of Gojo Satoru? Further explaining how these guys need to learn how to stop depending on him and grow into strengths that exceed him and what he can do, stating that at least one of them should be able to forget about him and develop their own power. Yuji responds by claiming how this is out of character of him and how no one could forget him. You know, because this manga had this man's name in damn near every single chapter. Gojo, in typical Gojo fashion, claims he's more confident than he's ever been and tells Yuji, I'm expecting great things from you. Now, Bullshit momentarily aside, we can understand why Gojo would say that to Yuji. Gojo is the one who saved Yuji from his execution. He's the one that served as his first teacher, the one that taught him about curse energy and techniques, the one who looked at Yuji as a maverick who could be a part of a society that Gojo wished to create, one which breeds strong and intelligent allies. Despite how stupid this conversation is for reasons I'll get into later, it's Gojo's way of telling Yuji, you will become a sorcerer better than me, I have the utmost confidence in you. Teacher? The student. So then why is Yuji saying the exact same thing to a weirdo stalker who doesn't even have a name in the second panel of the next page? And not only is this guy a nobody, but he's a literal stalker that was harassing a woman for no reason. But because the stalker is aware of his weirdo tendencies, Yuji pretty much tells him, I can't wait to work with you in the future. This y'all go? This is the quote-unquote best new shonen MC of the new generation of manga. He's an idiot. Like an actual one.
You stupid motherfucker!
This is one or two scenes where Gege shoved an emotive force in this final chapter to try and characterize his central characters. Part of Gojo's character is about how he is the strongest and most capable person in the world, and the lonely position that puts him in. He could, theoretically, fix all of the problems Jujutsu Tech throws his way, and his experience alone controls the hierarchy of power in the Jujutsu world. This means he struggles to build genuine relationships with people that don't see him beyond his strength. Notably, the entire Jujutsu organization. I'd speculate one of the reasons as to why Gojo held such a disdain towards its tradition's ideology is because it's one which exclusively viewed Gojo as a cataclysm that could go off whenever he wanted, but he just so happens to be on their side doing their work. He is their ultimate weapon, not a human. Kinda like how Songbird from Phantom Liberty is. The NUSA only care about her because of her net run abilities and nothing else. However, Gojo is able to take leniency in his positions because no one else can stop him from doing otherwise. Hence why Yuta and Yuji are still alive. You touch them, you die. With his desire to create a more collectivist society, which is one which doesn't depend on the hegemon, but instead the power of the masses, it throws the very traditionalist ideology out the window. Yuki, Getsu, and Gojo being the only three sorcerers to actually have an opposing perspective towards the nature of Jujutsu Tech. With Getsu opting for a targeted cleansing, Yuki viewing their methods as inadequate, merely slicing heads of a hydra, and Gojo seeking one which favors community. All three of these ideas conflict with the politics of the traditional Jujutsu society, but none of them mean anything in the greater context of the story because they all die achieving nothing. Yuki doesn't even do anything. She's just lazy. In fact, I'm gonna keep it two stalks on the bean. On a quick tangent, y'all just like Yuki because she's hot and she has a cool character design. As a character, she didn't amount to much. Her ideology is built on nothing. It's merely told to us as a reason to force Getsu developing his Zero Mortal plan. Then the next time she's relevant, really relevant, is when she dies. You would think someone with such a critical ideology and strength and intellect would hold stronger weight, but she doesn't. In contrast, this is to say, we thoroughly understand Gojo's position, reasoning, and desire for change. He spent his entire life at Jujutsu, but didn't change a single thing. Which I think is kind of interesting because the three people who sought to change the world, the only one who is really radical enough to enact a revolution gets killed by the very agent who has a problem with the same society, but stays within said society. It's kind of like the only one who did something and saw it change in an otherwise unchanging structure was killed by the very forces that remain stagnant and remain subservient to those very forces. In fact, as soon as that revolutionary was killed, all the work they did was reversed quicker than it took to create. Anyway, this rounds up to me saying Gojo saying what he said to Yuji, for better or for worse, aligns with his character even if Gojo's character does not align with the story. But for Yuji to say that to some random nameless stranger doesn't align itself with Yuji. Sure, Yuji is a kind, compassionate, strong person who is not a stranger to helping others. But why would he say this to a random stranger just because the stranger acknowledges faults? Not only does it not make any sense, but doesn't even fit within the concluding context of the story. Let's just say this conversation between Gojo and Yuji happened way prior and we witnessed it. Okay, then maybe it could work. It would still be dumb, but it would fit within the structure. But here, it's just thrown to us and it's supposed to be poetic. Fuck a flashback. This is a newsflash, Gege. It isn't. We know that this is a common occurrence every time Gege uses this device, and upon finishing the manga, we see that he continuously failed to use it effectively, instead using it to get out of a jam. hence why these things felt so disconnected, just like the entirety of the final arc. Another display of arbitrarily forcing an emotive effort whose entire character has been based around killing people simply because he wants to. Yuji taking Sukuna through his hometown and his domain, detailing the small things in life to ultimately explaining that there are no such things as predetermined roles and each individual has free will to be and choose who they want to be, and a person's life should not be strictly limited to what is believed that their determined path is. Sukuna basically goes, tough shit, but I don't give a fuck. Indicating that Yuji's talk no jutsu doesn't work in this universe before Yuji states he has the power to end Sukuna's life. And then he tries to bargain with him. I'm sorry, but appealing to sympathy after a walk in the park, after your enemy mowed down thousands of lives, if we include Shibuya, your master, and seemingly at the time Higuruma has openly stated he'll kill everyone you love personally, logically, this bargain doesn't make any sense, especially when Sukuna is eventually defeated, something I'll touch on later. Yuji, once again, gives Sukuna the choice to stay in his body, not to curse anyone, but to live with someone. Sukuna obviously rejects that, but Yuji should have never proposed that in the first place, because how did he think that was gonna go down? Everyone and their mom's been trying to kill this nigga, and you offer him a chance of redemption. If he said, I bet, do you think that motherfucking jujutsu niggas was gonna be like, well, you know, all's well as ends well, am I right? You forget, these folk were gonna kill you for less. At no single point did Sukuna indicate he was worthy of Yuji's sympathy, but he offered it anyway. And at no single point did Yuji indicate he was even willing or even capable of offering sympathy towards Sukuna. So none of it makes sense. Because let's not forget, Yuji is the same guy that said, I'll eat anything to kill this nigga. Where that energy go? Gege would double down on this clusterfuck when Sukuna's weird afterlife sequence with Mahito, and look, I'ma keep it a buck. To all y'all that think this is a cool characterization or character development, I mean this in the nicest way possible. Y'all are too easy to impress. But I'ma save that for the end though. Instead, I want to go back to address more of the shit complications many fans seem to perceive as effective or good writing. When I made the last video, it was revealed Yuta had inhabited Gojo's body. Even though Gojo clearly said, when will you guys forget about Satoru Gojo? But he still allows them to use his body. Which, whatever. There's gonna be people defending that by saying it was a last resort, but it still conflicts with his idea of ushering in a society that seeks to transition past them, meaning the very translation of this message Gege tried to consistently deliver failed every single time, especially since Gojo said that before he died. Narratively, we saw it after the fact, but canonically, it was beforehand. But once again, whatever. Upon using Gojo's body, Yuta realizes both the technical and physical limitations he's unable to gap. Even with the limited training he had in said body before Sukuna, it wasn't enough to go a considerable distance and would soon collapse because Rika was enhancing his body, which caused Limitless to burn out. Yuji and Todo go on the offensive and get to laying it on Sukuna. Pause. Sukuna then says something which made my eyes roll. He's made a binding vow to make his strikes more effective at tearing my soul from this body. Now, this whole concept of binding vows has been completely distilled because of what started off as a reasonable restriction in exchange for something else at the advantage of the user has turned into something that's used as a quick and cheap explanation to allow something to happen to cheapen the effect required to execute a plan or goal or action. We were introduced to binding vows as commitments the user made so they could gain something, but it transformed into a convenient tactic that would prevent a reader from going, that doesn't make any sense. Now, within the story and the components of the world and its properties, binding vows are easily understood techniques. But to us, as the reader, binding vows have been used ad nauseum and start making sense the more they were used in a manner of their frequency and risk assessment. Sukuna spamming binding vows out of his left cheek even spawned a running joke to where someone could say, Sukuna enacted a binding vow that he can't hate on Yuji for 103 seconds in exchange for maximum curse energy output. A dangerous vow indeed. One, some may say, too difficult for Sukuna to complete. But next to Gojo, Sukuna stands just as tall. And the effects don't seem to cripple Sukuna extensively to the point where it affects the outcome of the battle. Him launching his flame arrow and the binding vows that enable him to do so not only meant nothing to us as the reader, since the context of his technique was only explained to us whilst it was being used, but upon its usage, it can be used again, and the only person that died from it was Choso. He dropped a flippin' nuke and no one died. which brings in my issue with Todo and his ability, but that's neither here nor there, and the convenience of that. But this is why I perceive these binding vows as another way to create artificial depth and cut more corners. The exact same thing can be said with how Gege transformed the Black Flash. The appeal of it was that it was a randomized technique seldomly activated. It was something anyone could do, but not everyone did. Yuji being the exception where the Black Flash became nigh associated with him. The appeal of the Black Flash is that it wasn't something anyone could control. Even with Gojo's explanation, breaking it down to a science as to how one could theoretically unleash a Black Flash at will, in his own words, it still comes down to luck. However, in chapter 257, Yuji uses Black Flash a total of 7 times in that single chapter. It's then noted that due to the consecutive uses of these Black Flashes, Yuji awakens a new form, a power, a new estate, and seemingly evolves within the battle. So not only has the Black Flash lost its narrative impact upon the conditions set by Gege, but it's also used to accelerate Yuji's growth. This is fascinatingly convenient in the final battle, where all options being exhausted against this one central villain. But do you see what I mean? Gege will establish loopholes within loopholes of his own power system, not because it works in the nature of the story, but because it favors the situation of whatever character deems it most necessary. As cool as it was to see Todo find a way to still utilize his curse technique, him coming back after nearly 5 years with a new method to transport up to 50 people is par the course with Gege's writing, but not authentic within the context of good writing. It's hard to defend a series that's prone to missing the mark this consistently. So now those flags have been shot down, we can now talk about not just the ending of the arc itself, but the overall story. So picking up from Yuta taking on Gojo's body, he has a small skirmish with Sukuna, but he ends up ultimately losing and then collapsing from the overexertion. It goes back to a 2v1 with Yuji and Todo versus Sukuna, and it ends up, once again, with another Yuji versus Sukuna face-off. I believe this is the 3rd or 4th time this has happened, to where Yuji has tag teamed with someone only for his opponent to get klept out, and now Mr. Unlimited Stamina has more rounds to go. Yuji activates his domain expansion, and out of nowhere talks about the position of him being a cog, a predetermined agent in a life whose only purpose is to serve a particular function in that life, and fulfilling that function would be grounds for a proper death. It was a teleological perspective which has been a constant in Yuji's character throughout the entire series, engraved in him by his grandfather, and further supported by Gojo saving his life. You exist as this until we no longer need you. That has been Yuji's identity for the entire story, but finding things in life that conflict with that belief, that identity, that alters his mindset that people are not strictly valued by the end purpose in which they must serve, but rather the totality of how they wish to live, realizing one's own agency. This is a consistent theme with Yuji's character, as it has now been his driving force behind why he acts and why he behaves the way he does. However, upon identifying Yuji was pitting Sukuna, he gives him an ultimatum: leave Megumi and return back to his body or die. Initially, this didn't make sense to me, but I can interpret Yuji giving Sukuna that choice to further indicate that being a cog in a machine wasn't limited to just him, but to all people, to all things. So him giving Sukuna that choice may have been a notch to that. Doesn't change the fact that that was a stupid choice nonetheless. Sukuna obviously refuses and uses Hollow Wicked Basket to break out. So they fight a bit more, Mickey boom, and Sukuna uses reverse curse technique to reset his burn technique. It's then revealed that Yuji's fingers never grew back, hence what the gauntlets were for, to hide from Sukuna. I don't know how he could move his ring and pinky finger inside the gauntlets so effectively, but honestly I'm nitpicking. So basically the finger Yuta ate wasn't Sukuna's last finger, but instead Yuji's one, since Sukuna's curse technique had already been engraved in Yuji, and because of that it allowed for Sukuna to be attacked by none other than Nobara. Look, I know some of y'all just want me to do a victory lap over Nobara's return, but I knew she was going to come back in a manner which was super convenient to the point where there really isn't much to talk about more than what I've already said. We all knew she was coming back. We just questioned the manner. And she didn't do anything profound, especially towards her character or even the narrative. She just used Renaissance at a time where it best served Yuji to take out Sukuna. It was whack. It sucked. And that's pretty much it. It just highlighted Gege's failure to understand the character he's created in the setting and story he's constructed. It's difficult to critique something that's so void of any intelligibility, it would almost feel like I'd be making things up just to shit on it, which I'm not finna do. Nobara returning reduced the already insignificant presence of our character, and yeah, it sucked. Like, I ain't got nothing else to say, man. Like, come on, man. Like, it was an awful return. So then Yuji hits Sukuna with a black flash to the gut and punches Megumi out of him. or Sukuna out of Megumi, vice versa. And then for the character who we just watched terrorize the entire cast for an entire year relentlessly on an absolute warpath with no remorse or consideration for anyone or anything else, he turns into some little worm envy ting from Fullmetal Alchemist. And then Yuji does the one thing I strongly believe was such a stupid choice to give him. Sukuna just killed Gojo. He quote-unquote killed Higuruma, stole Megumi's body, put Yuta in a pack, killed a shit ton of people in Shibuya, refused to heal Junpei, has straight out ripped Yuji's heart out of his body, essentially terrorized everyone, and openly stated he was gonna kill everyone Yuji loved. And yet, after all that, he gave him the same line he gave Mahito, that being, I am you, which he 100% isn't, and offers Sukuna to live with Yuji. Dog, he ain't Kurama. He's an actual demon, both in blood and name. It isn't poetic for you to go 100 rounds with a nigga that swept through your entire team, openly admit he'll kill you, and go after everyone you love personally and kill them too. That doesn't make any sense, Yuji. It attempted to do that whole we can choose who we want to be route, and it failed both artistically and characteristically because it doesn't make any sense. Like I said prior, did Yuji think everyone would just let that shit slide? Hell nah. They sending his ass to the chopping blocks so he could really finally see what the hype told you was all about. Silly. Sukuna rejects this and then he dies as a gummy worm. I almost forgot about how Gege threw Hikari and Yurahime off to the side, but these two did absolutely nothing this entire arc, so there's nothing worth noting to talk about. The entire battle was off screen, so you can't really critique it unless you're a fan of other characters and just wanted to see them in action. Later, Megumi wakes up, completely intact, by the way. Between all those unlimited voids, black flashes, psychological damages, and overall beating, the fact he just seemingly brushed all that shit off in a short amount of time is just ridiculous, but I digress. You know, Shoko has Unohana healing abilities apparently. Dog wakes up and reunites with Zero team chemistry, and turns out Gojo left them all letters with the exception of Yuji before he died. And this is where I'm confused because I fail to see what this even represents. As far as Nobita goes, the note Gojo gave her about knowing the location of her mother was so random because, like I've said prior, these two have never had a genuine conversation about absolutely anything. These two have no personal relationship at all. So why would he even go out of his way for a personal matter she never disclosed with him? It doesn't make any sense within the confines of a character and then, when expanded, the story. I am not lying when I say this. These two have never had a conversation or shared screen time with each other individually. Him even giving her a note is worthless because he has nothing to say to her. So to make it something very intimate relating to her past is another huge mystery which should have never been initiated. Or perhaps it was Gege's way of showing us just how disconnected Gojo is towards the people he pretends to care about. Who knows? Megumi's note is just that Gojo revealed the fact that he killed his dad. The entire scene is dumb. The next chapter, see, I've been looking around at reviews and critiques about this chapter, and I haven't seen anyone talk about the glaring problem this chapter has, so I'm finna talk about it. After the concluding battle with Sukuna, every key major player congregates, and then Gege executes another objectively awful storytelling technique. He details plans, why certain people weren't there, what are scenarios, and the reasons why some of the actions weren't able to be executed. This also includes why certain characters could not carry out certain actions due to limitations or other factors. The big issue with this should be very obvious given what I've said about the same effect in the previous video and at the beginning of this video, in being that it info dumps at the very end, as opposed to effectively showing us or even allowing the reader to understand these conclusions on our own. You know, the same fans of this manga that said Gege doesn't hold your hand when it comes to writing his story and you need to learn how to better contextualize, but here he's doing the exact opposite of all that. We have a whole chapter dedicated to the very single thing fans claim the series does not do, or at the very least say Gege is good at, when in fact he does so all the time in a very poor fashion. The mere idea these people are going over the intricacies of the events that just took place a literal chapter right after it happened isn't even lazy writing, it's just flat out trash and terrible. It's so bad, Megumi literally brushes off everything that happened to him as his head was just a little fuzzy from Unlimited Void. I'm sorry, but you watch a curse possess your sister, After working so hard to free her, then you got possessed, had that possessed body kill your sister, and then watch your sensei that essentially raised you get put in the pack. I get we all deal with grief differently, Megumi not being thrown to the death of his comrades, but never had we witnessed him lose so many people in such a short amount of time, and he's helpless to do anything about it, to the point where he didn't even want to fight back when Yuji asked him for help, but then he seemingly seems to get back up and goes, it's a little bit fuzzy. And the time between these two events don't seem that long. Even the gravesite visit felt very insignificant. Megumi's psychological consistency is not consistent. Characters like Miwa and Broomgo straight up admit that they are useless. Everyone acts like Hiruma did not get put into a blender. Takaba didn't die, and there's some weird figure that resembles Gojo in the background that's extremely pointless, not even worth theorizing because it's stupid as shit, and everyone else just goes their separate ways. I promise you, and you may want to shoot me in the foot for this, nothing of meritable worth comes from analyzing this ending because it does not represent the themes the story has been trying to establish effectively well up to this point. It just goes over everything we already seen in such a tiring fashion. And then there's this thing with Mei trying to bank from curse energy, and Mei is just so trash. Jesus Christ, she's so awful. Now, on to the few final pages. Sukuna talks with Mahito in this afterlife sequence, and I shit you not. You know when Gojo died, Nanami pretty much revealed Gojo never cared about the shit he was spouting off about and just said he did it for the thrill of the game? Mahito does the exact same thing with Sukuna, where Sukuna living for himself was in fact a lie he was telling himself, and the motivations were revengeful against everything that outcasted him. Sukuna retorts by saying, it was just my nature. There was no other way to live, but then recalls that he could have chosen how to live as he had two choices, but he had to choose the path that best fits his survival. Later admitting if there's a next time, maybe he'll change how he lives. Mahito cries by claiming that's a boring way to live, and Sukuna just goes, who cares, I lost. And the last panel is Sukuna's finger hidden somewhere. And that's it. That's how JJK ends. Jujutsu Kaisen ending isn't bad because the ending is bad. It's bad because the writing has been subpar from the very beginning. Subtext included. The ending just revealed itself to be what it always has been because it had no other choice. I guess serving itself as a cog function didn't manage to find agency in its own civilization, huh Gege? Destined to be doomed from the start. The same way we said Yuta being the next Gojo was a joke, Gege took Sukuna is a misunderstood character literally as well. In the latter case, Sukuna was never presented to be misunderstood. He always stood by the belief that being strong is the only thing that matters, and since he was the strongest, any other governing ethos in which others lived didn't matter to him. Their logic, whilst understood, was irrelevant because he existed above them. No one could tell him anything. Depths of his not a wavering psyche, but a contemplative one was displayed throughout the final arc. Notably, after he had taken out Hikaruma, he discovered that fighting without a purpose was the difference between him and Yuji, and where Yuji's strong resilience came from. With a newly established will to be a pure force of calamity, still nothing here was reflective of any type of sentiment that resembles his last few words to Mahito. Therefore, it did not give his character any type of praiseworthy justice because that's not who Sukuna was presented to be at any point in the story. Him walking up with Yurahime almost looking like how a father walks up with his daughter or any type of guardian figure to make it look like the last image of him is one of contemplative guardianship isn't just cheap, it isn't bad, it just does not make any sense. Those that think was on that stand up for his character don't understand the consistency and logic behind developing a character, and believe unless a character has some form of clear development, they're poorly written or one-dimensional. Soft J. Kimberly is a character that doesn't really change from when you first meet him. He's a dark realist, but a man of unwavering principle. He didn't end similar to how Greed ended yearning for connection, or Scar's journey for revenge but soon turned into an ally. He lived how he died, which is what made his character both unique and well written. Kimberly remains the same pragmatic, amoral psychopath he's always been, but that's exactly what made him effective. If Gege just kept Sukuna as a maniacal yet tactical and intelligent killer with no remorse, it would not have changed the perception of who he both was and who he turned out to be. However, Gege decided to throw an unnecessary Hail Mary at the end with the hope of trying to add a layer of introspection that wasn't fleshed out nearly enough to justify why Sukuna thought that way to begin with. Because this is the last image we see of Sukuna, stated that if he was to live again, maybe he would have chosen a different life path, is just completely dumb. But for Mahito to randomly pull a Nanami is equally as stupid, and points are, once again, deducted from the merits of this series and the characters involved in it. It's hard to give a perspective to a series of characters that look to embody different aspects of philosophy while none of them deliver on these exact things despite their characters being built around that. Gojo wanted a more community-led society despite being the strongest and most dependable, but anytime we see him, he does nothing in advocacy of these ideals. In fact, he retreats right back into those very chains by siding with Gakukanji for stability over radicalization. Kenjaku was just doing this shit because he was intellectually curious and for no other reason. A valid reason to do what he does, but his execution was awful as we saw these things lead nowhere with any satisfying conclusion. Anyone without ideals ended up being shelved. Hikari, Miwa, Meimei, Shoko, the existence of these characters went no further than the necessities in which were required of them, which, to me at least, rendered them to exist only as characters in extension to the other characters, lacking their own sense of autonomy within the story. This is the reason why the characters blended in so well within the background, because they assimilated within the dimension of narrative uselessness. It no longer mattered what the majority of these characters felt or did, because Gege did not write them to be important enough to any relevant gravity to the future past the Shibuya arc, despite creating indications that there were areas to be explored. The key phrase is narrative uselessness. Urahame, for example, had narrative usefulness, but she herself as a character is as useful as Kurenai was in Naruto thinking she got Itachi in a Genjutsu. Still can't believe she really thought that shit would work. Her narrative usefulness existed to better populate the characters in the story and their relation to each other, once again, lacking any individual autonomy within the narrative. Meimei soon becomes an example of this. So does Panda, Miwa, Broomgo, LaRue, Miguel. The latter two because they hold no significance both before their fight with Sukuna, after the fight with Sukuna, hell, even during their fight with Sukuna. Useless bums. Kugasaki is another case, but I've already talked about her numerous times. The characters are the flesh and blood of any story within a narrative. It goes beyond making them feel alive and authentic within a story, but they also must exist within a structure which creates a necessity for them to exist in that capacity. If you suffice as the bare minimum, then you will live and die as a bare minimum. However, when a vast majority of your characters operate just as that, then the collective of your cast fails to establish himself as anything more than important than an object used to prop up another object because you're too lazy or cheap to replace the entire structure. I feel like that sums up a majority of JJK, to be honest. JJK is a story which is greatly amplified by the excitement it can generate. Whether or not that excitement makes sense is honestly irrelevant. How did it make you feel? Will you talk about it next week? Is it topical? Can discussions come from it? JJK was able to activate these nodes on a consistent basis during its serialization. What set it apart was the way it was able to gravitate all manner of people by the hype it was able to provide. The reason why standout fights such as Sukuna vs Gojo, Yuta vs the Cursed Users, or Hikari vs Farmer Boy was able to manifest such attention was because of the attractive allure of them. You could enjoy them without really needing to know the context behind it. Gojo vs Sukuna, at least to me, was the most aesthetically pleasing fight to watch, and I'm looking forward to seeing it animated. But it was a worthless fight when contextualized as a whole. Gojo trying to teach Sukuna about love also felt like some fake deep messaging of standing alone on a pillar of strength, unreachable to all people. Are you trying to stop Sukuna for the benefit of the people you're protecting? Stop Sukuna because you want to connect with him? Or stop Sukuna because you're in it for the thrill? Go subtext all you want, but the story suffers beyond that because of the decisions Gege made post that fight. This can be said for many of the other fights that include many of the other characters. I stand by everything I said in my last video, and I make this video doubling down on those same points, whilst being additionally disappointed but not surprised in its conclusion of an otherwise underwhelming story packaged in the most beautiful scintillating wrapping paper. The more you peel the wrapping paper away, the less it shines, until you finally make your way to the center to see a massive high volume density construct of absolutely nothing. Doesn't make sense? No, but neither did Nobita coming back. In a funny tale of a JJK video being the very first video I ever made lauding the character that was Megumi Fushiguro, to what will hopefully be the last JJK video I make, filled with total apathy towards what this series failed to offer me. I've been a Lakers fan my whole life. I'm used to being disappointed, so in that light, I'm not even bothered by how this ended. You know what? That being said, I've seen a lot of people say shit like, oh, if you didn't like it that much, why don't you write a better story? And my response is, I can, and bet. Just not today. But just to highlight how much of a better writer I am, I can most definitely write that Gojo vs Sukuna fight way better than Gege did. Because, matter of fact, that's what we about to do. Rerunning that fight back. Fuck a montage. Bring these battlers to the stage. Ducks. Yo, nah, I mean, what's going on? It's your boy Draconian Ducks, and we down here at the HWBT Hands Will Be Thrown Battle League. We got a special one-off event amongst these two legends, these two gods. They had a battle beforehand, but niggas say it was rigged, and I don't get paid enough to go ahead and go into them politics, you know what I mean? So without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce these battlers. Battlers on my left, introduce yourself. The one perfected by God himself.
Hit you off from the hip up, my Glock it don't hiccup. You better get the grip and no slip up. Now put your hands where my eyes could see, like it's a stick up. Make one false movie getting lit up, cause I don't give a fuck like Bishop. I'm crazy like a redneck in the pickup. Shit get ugly like Sean say Billups.
The unlimited one, the limitless one, the one who is the essence of divinity and God all into one. The honored Satoru Gojo. You already know who it is, dog. I ain't coming to talk. I came here to put Sukuna into a body bag, man. Let's get it, man. Hollow purple. Alright, man. And the battler on my right, introduce yourself. I said battler on my right, introduce yourself. Battler on my... There is no such thing as a king that's gotta introduce himself.
Digitally I'm in love with violence more. Works is tried and all of them know, but they keeping it silent. The please on guidance. Can't be dang, you don't fit their requirements. Rock those who go on retirement. Where are they hiding them? I'm on finding them. 9x19 wanna combine them. I'm a man with integrity, even when they're begging me. I didn't beef with none of them.
Okay, Thun, some real shit, Thun, know what I mean? Okay, well, we did a coin toss off screen, and Gojo said he wanted to go first, so round one on you, baby. Let's go. Yo, y'all hear me? Hey, turn my mic up, man. Turn my mic up. Quit playing with me. Alright, check it. This the rematch. Time to settle the score. Ain't no plot armor here. Don't count on Gege to help you out no more, cause you a fan, man. Got a thing for teenage boys. This something we can't ignore, from Yuji to Megumi. I'ma make sure you ain't around kids no more, cause the next body you jump in, I'ma strangle you with the umbilical cord. Let's get the scrapping. I'm moving for running phase. This time I'll slaughter demon. I don't even need a blade. Dome shot. Reverse red. Have your brain rearranged. Ichimonji. If I black out, no one's gonna remember your name. See, I took the bleacher ball. Cause fans say we steal a lot. But it's true. We steal a lot. Shonen Jump Kaisen, top of the polls. We steal a lot. Even Usher cosplayed the guy. You know what he does. So yeah. We steal a lot. With Lapse Blue, I attract a lot. Goku Manji, I rock out a lot. Neutral Luminous, I made all the stops. Unlimited Void, I made all y'all stop. You lucky? You ain't find me in Shibuya. It would have been regrettable. Had that whole station like Mekamaru. A bunch of vegetables. Hollow wicket basket. This defense you ain't getting through. I'll do you how you did Haruta. You get split in two. I know you think you better than me, but this is what you did to do. Told you with his child support payments. This ass whipping you indebted to. Kenjaku's bitch ass. Forget Toby. Get back. You can get it too. Did I just get hit with a hollow purple? No. I put a hole in chest and got you looking red and blue. Who you stepping to? I'll clear out the whole lobby. Chest shot. Reverse red. Feeling like I got hit with a whole shoddy. Codename Mahito. Hey, what that mean? Means when I touch you, I make a nasty body. People I did the Hanami. That was a crime scene. I'm tight, mean a herbalist with money and plants. I handle green. Who wanna go band for band? I'm real at this. My power, like my bread, man, is limitless. I had you scared, dog. Had Sukuna looking like a rookie. 6 size, had 4 eyes like Gege's avatar with how I turned you into a one-eyed pussy. This battle, you ain't looking good. You ain't none but a challenger to me. Fuck compression shot Satoru. This Gojo with the hoodie. Not clash, you never shook me. Boy, you were hanging by a thread. We knew Gege had to save him from that shit. Agito, Maharaga, or Tree, y'all were getting whipped through these knuckles at mock speed. I was really blitzing y'all nigga shit. Thought you were fighting Toto the way y'all got clapped, thinking these hands were coming with a switch. I'm real sick, and this combo you about to feel this. So call it my style and how it seems so fast. I'm still about to biggity beat your ass. For thinking Yuji, I scar your face. You the only nigga trying to copy the great. You keep thinking you heavy till you get crushed crushed by my weight, made a mistake. Told Gege, don't speak in my name, boxing your frame. Finna DIE, tryna RCT to CTE, a black flash to your brain, come in last place. Maximum outputs don't relate, comparing me to yo level, surefire way to get rockin' flame. Gojo's insane, but y'all don't hear me though. I'm for real that guy, at 18, doing missions solo, see I don't do squats. I'm good at my dolo, never cool cam, headshots, GoPros. The second I was born, all you niggas was a no-show, but told you on the shirt, tell them to the Apple logo. I handle heat off the rip with the Jogo. Y'all got a twist and now you looking like Juzo. Got ahead of you niggas, like I used to did dead bro. Compared to me, all you niggas moving slow-mo. Get a question my strength, he should already know though. The honor one, I alone, Satoru, Gojo. But I know you thinking, man, if you hot shit, how come I killed you clean? Cause Gege drew my death thinking it was an NBA play. In order for you to make the cut, you had to do it off screen. You were scared for real. I was really about to finish you. I was flaming your ass so bad you threw the extinguisher. What am I missing, bruh? This the dude that got y'all triggered? When his source of power is him literally needing to be fingered? What? And he needed then some to match me. Though I don't blame, all my bodies add to the point I'm in a different league, like I'm in the Cullen game. So Sukuna catching a dub like that, something we can explain. But try me again, ain't no teaching you about no damn love. I'ma show you why you shouldn't mess with my name. Now fix your fucking face, honored one. Oh shit, this one of them ones. This shit one of them ones. Classic first round. This bottom of the first on Sukuna. Let's get it. Man, that shit was ass, pussy. Look, I didn't use these balls at the high-end era. I hate when sorcerers ask me for a rematch. We shouldn't have to do no recaps, cause the skill is real. I don't play concealed. If Gojo the rich brat, I went 50-50 with this bitch the way I split the bill. I told you Rahame, I don't need you hang with me. They thought Gojo beating me once meant he'll beat me again. So go deal with that gambler's fallacy, the strongest sorcerer of today. Man, get out of that fantasy. I decked your shit for months with your biggest fantasy, talking all that gas out the gate. But for real, we ain't got a battle G, cause all I gotta say is, hey yo, Toji coming. I watch this boy up and freeze. That's some crazy PTSD. Look, I don't know if it's trauma bonding, but that shit gotta be frightening. So desperate to get in over his abuser, he came to the battle dressed just like him. If we should get up with things in motion for a human, he's duly noticed. Satoru ain't the guy y'all claim him to be, so let's do some exposing. I'm sending your god up to the sky. This battle gonna end up like the last one. A body cut and dry. You said nah, I'd win, thinking I was like the mother guys. Said nah, I'd win. Pulled up and you fucking died. That 120 hollow purple should have been the indicator your life was over. Tank that shit and put you in a suit. I was your clothes, a slice and dice, clean cuts. It's like I got knives coming out the holster, got blades popping out of nowhere. We dislocating shoulders. I ain't gonna hold you. You were never up to par. It was only close in the building because I was holding back 2 extra arms. You had me wait 2 extra weeks. What, you needed a spark? Kenjaku had a plan. I came to fight whenever. Send you to the stars. I was already moving heavy. Years before you, my name was moving far. That farmer waited an extra generation to fight, which to me was a spar. So between you and Kashimo, I'm tired of killing losers with light bars. If that was a funeral for the living, it's a song for the dead. I'm ghostwriting. That infinity was literally your 6 eyes just couldn't see. Adapted to your limitless, that made you reach your limit. G, strongest of today turned into the strongest that will never be. Piercing blood came to your head out of nowhere. I just had an epiphany. Speaking of blood, tell them death pain bros to start rolling like they stacked. Choso and them other clowns got folded and collapsed. Yuji being the wolf against Mahito was prophetic, thinking back, cause wolves moves in a unit and them dogs got put in a pack. How ironic is that? I got y'all drowning in blood. The honored one stepped to the disgraced one till he became a misplaced one, got fucking caught up, took 2 hollow purples to the body and still fucking got up, thinking the victor was this man till I showed you how I could leave dog half the man he was. You thought you were the man above until I seen you to the man above, but who am I to judge? The other one was the grudge. I had every single one of y'all facing the mud and I wasn't even trying. I ain't even used my heat yet. Started as a 20v1 and y'all couldn't make me sweat. Gas up Yuta, talking about he next, but standing in Kusakabe's blood was the closest thing y'all got to making my feet wet. Maki ain't Toji, and the rules just a reject. Miguel dancing his ass off, came out short with them weak steps. Toda got clapped, gave angel wings, and boy Shiesty couldn't mask the fact he was a weak threat. He could rumor couldn't pass the ball, and Yuji having my jeans was the only reason why he didn't meet death. I ran through the whole tech squad, and the ones that I feel like I had to defend, fuck a 20v1, it was a 1v20, and I still had y'all scared on defense. There wasn't a single attack that had me shook. You saw what happened to the last person that tried to snap at me. I killed them with the looks. Now, let's talk facts. I'm done with the acts. You the only man in this bitch that be getting a pass. It seems every single deranged fan got you gassed. He says he's for the people, but we see this contradiction. The logic in this fraud is missing. Never did anything in service of jujutsu, but y'all dismissed it. Said the higher ups were worthless, but you never put them through it. Worked from the inside without structuring any new shit. Saved Yuji and Yuta, only to have them follow the same path you did. Got Kumaji with Masamichi, and you didn't do shit, then came back vouching for the same man that when Yuji executed. So killing the higher ups after the fact aids to the point I'm proven. Taking care of shit when it no longer matters, only to die. You ain't the honored one, you're just useless. But to never care in the first place, and was using Jujutsu Society to fill your bloodthirsty excuses. This man is just stupid. What's this talk about teaching me about love? You want some sucker shit. You as believable as Mai if she said she was gunning shit. This different era is the only reason why you are running shit. But it's the luck of the straw that creates the illusion that you ain't fraudulent. This strongest talk but wanna serve the people, man. I had enough of it. I had nobody telling me what to do my entire life. I was on some other shit, and that's the difference between us. You fought me because it was on everyone's bucket list. I killed you purely for the fuck of it. I never needed a reason. Could I have chosen a different life? Probably. But I lived how I died, answering to nobody. I love the violence. To me, this shit is a hobby. I caught a body when I was still in a body. So you being on my level, you will see no place like you to pulling up. Thinking you bodied me seems so fake. I wire sell to niggas. So UG, I better receive my grace. Your whole scheme to beat me only if you erased. You tried to bring us closer together until I cleave that space. Gojo not gonna lose. Ain't no way he gonna break. Jujutsu higher up corruption is something that we don't take. Your bracket's here below mine. Now these bars something we gon' face, cause everyone thought you were going home. Until I took a page out of Toji's book and gave Youngin that Rico case. Seize your faith. You fucked up, and this your final ride. Getting slashed from all angles. Can't be identified. Shoko all over you. Just begging you survive. So you better floor it this time if you want to stay alive. Or you gonna get smashed, whipped, and cut up. Drive, uncle, drive. The light's leaving your eyes. Who needs a lesson? Dismantle and cleave my tools for trade. Defy legends, autopsy. We watching our body get picked apart. We dissecting. I'm talking neck, tendon, arteries. Blood is pouring out. A gruesome setting. Just see leaks streaming everywhere. Can't stop the bootlegging. You messing. This fool stepping. Got caught in a binding vow to kill me. Nah, not me. Call this draw that my hands are tied. Already rock your teeth and clock you in and out. G over time, my power increase and you'll end up like Haibara. Get put under a sheet. You jujutsu clowns are weak. Ricky's to a vet. None of y'all fret. I was really going easy on y'all when I possessed Yuji. Y'all seem to forget I was humble and patient until my time was to step. Cause the second I took out Megumi, my humility ran out. And y'all had no more blessings left, cause that shrine shit, divine shit, some shit you can't confine and call it malevolent kitchen. That's fine then. The kitchen you died in gonna be the same one that you die in. I finished my leftovers, and this nigga Gojo is food. You catch it, you dig it. He got boxed up, and when y'all brought him back home, he was finished. But even with 2 arms behind my back, I was still whipping. My fire arrows destroyed districts, and districts still lost. What y'all think was gonna happen if my veil was lifted? I was cooking without it. But here's what y'all missing. In order to use my furnace, I had to open up Malevolent Kitchen. This domain is only for the gifted. What y'all want me to say? Gojo ain't none but a fraud. One I left spineless. 3rd time's a charm, but we all know he's lying. Cause how's it 3rd time's a charm when it's your 3rd time dying? And what good is a family name when you're up against someone who made their whole existence timeless king? Oh shit. Oh shit. I don't know how to call that one, know what I mean? That was around the bullshit. That whole round was bullshit. You know, I went 4 minutes. He went 10. He went 10. One turned into a baby ass nigga, man. What's wrong with unlimited? It's unlimited. It's unlimited. What's wrong with unlimited? Man, what the fuck you talking about? No, he went 10. I fuck up again. On me. On King me. I bet you won then. I bet you won though. I dare you to. Go gay and hit. I dare you to. Gay and hit. Run it back, man. Run it back, man. And there it is. Yes, I know. It's been a while. It's been more than a month. But hey, it happens. Anyway, it feels like it's been a minute since I've talked to y'all. So thank y'all for peeping the video. Thank y'all for your patience as well. I didn't expect it to take this long, but you know, life. First and foremost, I want to give a huge shout out to my boy Soba Oda for drawing some of the key art and some of the assets for the video, particularly Gojo, the hoodie, the one-up one, and the one in the compression shirt. Go give him a follow, shout him out. His artwork is dope. Real good friend of mine. Salute to you, Kozo. Secondly, I do have another video planned up. I'm not gonna say when it will come out. I hope it comes out before the end of the year. Very unlikely, but if it doesn't come out before the end of the year and I don't see y'all again until then y'all have a good Christmas and a Happy New Year. I don't know if y'all celebrate that, but yeah, all them Johns. I don't have much else to say besides thank y'all for watching the video. I wanted to just have fun with it and be myself a lot more than I already am, and yeah, if y'all couldn't tell already, I've been watching a fuck ton of battle rap, so so I wanted to go ahead and put that in here. Hopefully this is I really meant this when I said that. I hope this is shut the fuck up. I hope that this is the last JJK video I make, so because I'm done talking about it, I got nothing to say. So I hope y'all enjoyed it. That's not like a broken record because I'm tired of editing this video now. So I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you Ada thank you Ada for supporting the Patreon. Much appreciated. I know that shit's been kind of stagnant, but I very much appreciate the support from all y'all on YouTube and over there, just in general. It means a lot to me, especially given how this year has gone on and how much this is developed. I'm yapping now, but yeah, thank y'all again. See you on the next video. Hope y'all enjoyed this one. I already said that. Damn, Redux, shut up. Back to the show as I go. Deuces.